the Ghana Union of Traders Association is escalating its demand for some urgent government response to the fast depreciation cedi. Members of the union closed their shops today to protest the free fall of the cedi, which they say has eroded gains made post the COVID-19 pandemic and the shocks from the Russian-Ukraine war. They are equally asking government to patronize the trading community to get access to foreign currency to undertake their businesses. Here's president of the group and president of GUTA, Dr. Joseph Obeng, who spoke at a news conference in Accra.
I'm deeply saddened by the degree of signs of depression on the faces of all members of the trading community I see here this morning. I hope the government will swiftly and decisively act to salvage our plight for the better. As a trustee and manager of our national resources and the economy at that. No doubt, we all know that at this moment in time, we have serious difficulties as a nation. We are also not oblivious of the fact that there are global challenges with regard to the COVID-19 pandemic as well as the Russia and Ukraine war, which Ghana is no exception in this global phenomenon. One thing we need to clarify, we need to clearly understand is that issues regarding the pandemic have become a new normal worldwide. Likewise, the Russia and Ukraine war, which has no end in sight. It is for these reasons that we, as a nation, need to rise above these challenges and find appropriate solutions given our peculiar situation. Therefore, the purpose of our gathering here this morning is to pinch the government to wake up and see the depth to which businesses in the country are crumbling as a result of the following. 1. Rapid and continuous depreciation of the cedi. 2. Continuous rise in the interest rate. And 3. High rate of inflation, among others.
Well, so that's the demand from the business community. Joining us for a conversation on this is Joseph Fandi, Director of Communications for GUTA, joins me in studio now. Joseph, it's good to have you talk to us. I also need to indicate that we have also joining us via Zoom some other groups, business groups, and working closely with GUTA. Samuel Atoa Grace, General Secretary for the Food and Beverages Association. We also do have some more groups who will be joining us to comment on the matter. But let me start off with you, Joe, because your boss just addressed the press a while ago, and we understand that you're, in fact, rolling out a number of measures just to protest how bad the depreciation of the cedi is. The last time we had a conversation, you were hoping that government would, amongst other things, constitute a forex committee to look at the issue. Is it the case that talks have broken down between your group and government?
Not only talks have broken down, but there's no talks at all. Yeah, see, I think this, like you said, we already said, we were here about a week ago. Right. And that's at the time we were talking. The dollar was just about $1 is to 9.1. But as we're talking today, the dollar is 1 to 10.05. So look at the difference. Within the span of 1 week, it has moved to 10. So realize that the fall of cedi to the dollar is affecting the business community extremely seriously. People are losing their capital. People are losing their businesses. So we resolved that as one of the measures to send our displeasure about the activities of the dollar-cedi relationship in terms of businesses. We protesting that from Monday, we are closing down our shops to send our displeasure to government as a matter of urgency to come to the aid of the business community because businesses are suffering. So our members were so much, the pressure was so much so that they were even proposing for 2 days closure. But we said when you are going for a war, you don't release all your arsenals. So as and when the need demands. So this is the first protest. And we are doing it only in Accra. By Monday coming, today's week, we are all closing down our shops. And we've also asked our partners at the port, the freight forwarders, to also stop paying for our duties and clearing our goods as a measure of protest. Then going forward, we'll rub in our regions. So this is where we've come to, because we want to find out what is the cause, why we are where we are today, and what are the solutions that they've professed to bring on board. We've not heard anything from government. All that we hear is that we are working on it. What have you done? What are we putting in place? So we cannot, for how long can we wait? Or for how long can we sit down and wait and hear we are working on it? So this is a difficult situation we find. Business are really collapsing. And then GUTA as a welfare to the business community, that's the stand we've taken so far.
You are running businesses, so closing them down would obviously affect you.
Obviously, but there's something we call lose to gain. So if we are going to lose for a day and gain in the rest of the year, we prefer that one for us to lose at all our businesses. So as a matter of protest to government, to let government know how difficult our people are finding themselves in, that's why we came out with this. It's difficult, it's hard to close your shop for a day, just averagely. And it's, as much as it's going to hurt us, it's going to hurt government too. Because if averagely, each shop is selling even 1,000 Ghana cedis and you close about 20,000 shops, look at government revenue that's government going to lose. If we stop paying tax, duties at the port, look at, so it's going to hurt us as much as government is going to hurt its government revenue. So we have no choice than to embark on this protest.
But the question always comes up as to how much control government has right now over Forex and what's happening on the international front. The belief is that if you ask government, they always refer to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and the issues relating to the Russian-Ukraine war, part of the reasons for which we're having shocks on our economy.
Yeah, and that's the same question we're asking. The Ukraine-Russian war, COVID-19, we're not the country that was affected. In fact, COVID-19 has come to stay with us. Ukraine-Russian war is still going. We don't know when it's going to end. But why or how come the other neighboring countries have got it right and we're not getting it right? They've also been affected by Ukraine-Russia war. Let's talk about it, but where is their inflation rate now? Where is their inflation standing now? So what is wrong with Ghana's own? And as economic management team, what are you putting on board to make sure we halt this free fall of the city? That's a difficult situation. Nobody has really come out to tell us what the measures they've put in place to halt the free fall of the city against the dollar. Because Togo is going through Ukraine, Russia.
Right.
Nigeria is also going
through.
Ivory Coast is also going through. Let's even talk about our neighboring countries. Let's don't go far. Yes, let's go to other African countries. They're also they're facing the same situation. But so how come they are not finding themselves where we find ourselves today? Which means the fundamentals has broken. They say if you got the fundamentals wrong, everything scatters. And let me borrow the word of our vice president, our current vice president. Say when you have the fundamentals wrong, so which means the fundamentals are wrong. So let's correct the fundamentals.
Interesting points there from Joe. Let me bring in someone to our grade, who's with the Food and Beverages Association. In fact, you are aligned with some of the actions by GUTA. And it goes to point to how extreme the effects of these action may be. Food and beverages, quite a critical sector that you don't want to toil with. Kindly unmute for me so I can get the points, Samuel.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Now, this is the situation where we find ourselves as a country. Now, when we take everything on the political front, where we seem to accuse politicians and other governments of being incompetent and all that. Now, when it comes to your own governance, what do we see as a government? We were told if the fundamentals are weak, your city will expose you. So far, what we are seeing today, as the Vice President said earlier on, the Cedi Depreciation has been halted by arresting the depreciation and giving the key to the IGP for them to lock up. So the city was going to remain stable wherever it is and then appreciate in terms of gains. Unfortunately, this is not what we are seeing. When they took over this administration and the level at which we have the city against the dollar, we all realized that we had a problem, because if you watch what happened in 2015, these were situations where we could not contend as traders and importers and manufacturers. So therefore, what do? We have to go back and tell the government then that we cannot, because looking at the VAT at that time, we're paying VAT of 3%, and they said they were going to take it back and install the 17.5%, which was so difficult. and therefore we have to garner all the trade sectors for them to come on board for us to see what we can do. The government then didn't listen, and the dollar was also on a free fall. So all that we need to do was to close down businesses and ensure that the government really listened to what is happening to the trade sector. Fortunately enough, we were able to have that result, and the VAT itself was halted, and then the 3% was reintroduced. Now, coming today, we are seeing the same thing that happened in 2015, which we want the government of taking very strong measures to ensure that we don't get to that early. Now, if you look at what happened in May, when the government was being forced to reintroduce the benchmark values, because at that time, this is what was actually easing the economy for us to be able to have things on the cheaper grounds. Unfortunately, we were not able to convince government enough. But I remember telling the government, the Minister of Finance at that meeting, that whatever decision that he takes that day, whether he increases the benchmark or he reduces it by 5%, is going to go a long way to affect the economy. And therefore, he should be very careful of what he's doing.
Right.
What is happening to industry is because we have a long way of cost effective. We are not breaking even if we come to production. What is happening to industry is the cost of production. Why is it so expensive to produce in Ghana? We need to look at that one rather than blaming the benchmark values. Now, if you look at the duty paid at the point of entry, it's 30% increment. And when that one happens, automatically you have sparked the inflation drive to go on a free fall. So this is the time that we are seeing the reality of what is happening. Industries are not being able to break even. Importers are suffering. We have also the local sectors in these areas also suffering. Our raw material base, which we don't have in this country, and therefore we need to go to import, all has to do with foreign exchange. Now we don't know how much are we going to make in the economy to be able to import all these raw materials. Either the factories are shut down for a while until such a time that we are able to garner the resources to bring them back.
Okay, then.
Now, if you look at what the government itself has done, we have borrowed so much that what is happening is that we are competing with business people as to how much we can ramp the foreign exchange for us to be able to pay back our interest.
Yeah.
So what is happening is the government's own doing. The rampant borrowing and corruption, which is at the helm of affairs, is what we need to look at. And therefore, when we're able to solve these problems, the city will gain itself. Either at this point, we are able to let the city stay where it is by announcing or taking certain measures that will be able to at least augment what is happening. Because if we are not able to deal with this, by December, what will be happening is that the city will be on a free fall, and then we'll be buying one city, 15 cities to $1.
Right. Let me bring in Joe at this point, because I recall that earlier you were talking about how some of the, quote, juicy parts of the economy are being controlled by export rates. The Bank of Ghana released this policy rate somewhere last week, pointing that as part of the redress, they were going to engage the mining sector and some companies that find themselves in the petroleum sector in order to control capital flight. So it goes to point to the concerns that you were raising. Will such moves not address the issues that you pointed out earlier?
It will be difficult because we have been downgraded. The economy has been downgraded. I think Fish came out with their downgrade. And as a result of that, most foreign companies are expatriating their currency, their money, their profits. Even some of them have been adding their capital out of the country. And therefore, the demand on the forest is high. So if Bank of Ghana, on what basis are you going to talk to them? That is why we said, instead of we going into that tangent, once upon a time, we proposed that let the economic giant, the economic power, get into the hands of Ghanaians. So that as West, Ghanaians will be able to sustain the economy. But like I said the last time, all the juicy, almost every part of the economy are in hands of foreigners. And that's where we find ourselves where we are. So as one of the measures, I think they've also identified the problem that as a result of capital flight, People are moving their money out of the country. So what are you going to do as a bank? Are you going to convince them to keep the money in the country when the money, they keep it, and as a result of that, they're also losing their money? They obviously might not want to take it away. So we want to see a pragmatic situation where government, let's forget about government, the economic management team, what are the proposals you've put on board so that we can also contribute to, if we have any contribution at all, we can also make a contribution to it. But as it stands now, we've not really heard anything from the economic management team. What are they putting in place? What are the measures they are putting in place? Like one of the things we would have told them that as a result of where we find us for price stability, why can't you peg the dollar at a certain rate? What comes for duty purpose? So that as the dollar is flying to 1:10.05, for duty purpose, let's peg the dollar 1:7. So that when you are going to clear your goods for quota purpose.
So a special dispensation for business owners. That's what you're calling
to stabilize price in the market, because consumers will be suffering.
But that would then mean price control, isn't it?
It won't be
in a free market.
No, it won't be a price control. So if I'm going to the port, right, and today the dollar is $0.7 to $1 to a 7 cedis, that one I will be able to stabilize my price. But now it moves almost every week, so you cannot even do projection. So the businessman is anticipating that we are anticipating that before you get to December, we might even hit 12 cedis. Right. So that's the projection the business is going to make. Obviously, prices will go up. But if we know when even it hits 12 cedis, for duty purpose, the rate for my duty is going to be 7 cedis. That based on that, you can do your pricing.
But here's the case that when you have the products, you have the ultimate power to decide what the final price would be.
I do, but because of the price stability I got from the port, obviously the goods will be cheaper than where I find myself today. Because if government says, if you are going to clear this particular phone, right, you are going to pay 7 Ghana cedis instead of 10 point something, obviously I will not increase the price. Yes, all things being equal. So I'll be able to do that projection. I know that for the next 3 months, when I bring this phone, I'm going to clear it as 7.1. Therefore, the price will be stable in the market for a while, for a maximum of 3 months or 4 months. So we propose that quarterly, for duty purpose, quarterly, for price stability, why can't you maintain the dollar to the cedi rate in terms of duty at a certain rate, peg it, so that we can do our projection. But if you go to the port today and the dollar, every Tuesday, they change their rate. Right. So if there's a tomorrow rate changes, then you're going to pay a new duty. Obviously, I'm going to add it to the goods. So these are some of the solutions we prefer to government, that for duty purpose, peg it where we find ourselves now. But I believe government, as a result of looking for revenue, they turn their eyes to the port. But why do you kill business? Because if business don't grow, your revenue doesn't grow. So why won't you make sure businesses grow so that as a result of that, your revenue also grows?
Okay, but there's a question as to why you are not allowing Ghanaians to pay the ultimate price. So if you're bringing the goods and it's going to cost us more than 50% of what we used to pay for, just release that into the market. If the Ghanaian wants it, they will definitely go in for
your purchasing power. We're also looking at the purchasing power of the Ghanaian. Your purchasing power is nothing to write home about. So as much as we want to maximize profit, we also look at the purchasing power of that Ghanaian. And that's why I keep on asking the question. I don't remember the last time your salary was increased anyway, so that you'll be able to afford. You see that people, I told you that I went to workshops, I saw a lot of cars there. Not that they don't have owners, but their affordability, they are not able to raise that money to buy that part. You see, so as a businessman, you are not Father Christmas. You also look, before you make any projection or you make any step in terms of business, you also look at the purchasing power and the demand for that product. Now there's demand in the market, but there's no purchasing power. So we are not also looking for our interest alone. We look for the interest of the, we call it the ordinary Ghanaian, but no Ghanaian is an ordinary. Every Ghanaian is a Ghanaian. Yes, but we look at the interest of the Ghanaian too, that will they be able to afford it? What is the point? If I bring the item and you're not able to afford, I keep them in warehousing, I owe the bank, I keep on paying interest on the bank. So no, so we look, it's two-way affair. As much as we want to maximize or even break even, we also look at the interest of the Ghanaian. Will they be able to afford it? There's a need. That's somebody was telling me, a simple term. He said people are not even buying their drugs. And when they are sick, all that they go for is paracetamol, just to take certain measures. I said, can the paracetamol cure that sickness? Because the money to purchase that drug that will cure them is not there. So if you are a businessman, you are even importing drugs, you also consider the Ghanaian. So this is how we're looking at. So
don't you have established lines and communication channels with the Trades Ministry, for instance, because that's your supervising agency? They were very instrumental at the time you were raising some concerns regarding trading, retail trading by foreigners.
Yes,
so
exactly.
if they came through at that point, why are you not resorting to that same channel now?
Yeah, we did. We've done all that we could do. Try to get in touch with the authority. But now it goes beyond the Ministry of Trade. Now it should be the economic management, because it's a nationwide crisis that we find ourselves. So it goes beyond the Ministry of Trade, which Ministry of Trade too is part of the economic management team. Yeah, so we're looking at that point where the management team itself will come out with a pragmatic solution where our input will also be felt. Well, so if they bring us on board, we can also come up with a proposal. What can we do to halt this free fall of the city? We are saying that let's look into the retail area where it's preserved for Ghanaians and the foreigners in there. What can we do to stop them? There are laws already. So it's an institutional failure that we find ourselves where we find ourselves today. Somebody is not monitoring the activities of these foreigners. Somebody is not regulating the activities. So Ghana has become a new haven for all businesses. Why is it almost all the West African countries we find ourselves, it's only Ghana that you see huge foreign investors? But at the end of the day, which area of investment are we looking for? They're looking for the juicy areas. How many of the foreigners have you seen in the agriculture sector? Where we need machinery.
It's not as though they are not there, to be fair.
Yeah, to be fair. But I said how many? That's the question I asked. Right. How many? Where we need huge investment in terms of machinery, but they're interested in Galamsey. Go and look at the Galamsey. They are there. Go into the malls. They are there. Go to all the services, they've occupied those places. But where we need them most to get raw materials for our production, they don't want to go into those areas. They've left those one for the Ghanaians. And it's capital-intensive area in those. So we are saying there must be a regulation, there must be a monitoring with our ministries, and that's where we find ourselves today.
So, Samir, if there's anything that government should be on the lookout for as we look forward to a redress of the solution, what will that be for you?
We should rebase some of the taxes that we've introduced over the past few months. Corporate tax is a nuisance tax, it must go. We have also the retailers applying 4%, we need to bring it back to the 3%. 17.5%, we need to also bring it down to, if we are going to remain on this 19.5%, then we need to have the what we call the input and output taxes, where businesses can then knock out whatever expenses that they make and against the profit. And
so what threshold are you looking at?
So we should revert to the 17.5 at this time, taking off the 1%, which is also another huge problem for investors. So when we're able to do that, I think at the appropriate time, we can reintroduce them when we need them. Because meeting the finance minister the last time, these are some of the things that we told him. The measures that you are putting in place will not help this country. In the next 3 months, we are going to see the country going down the downward trend, and this is what is happening now. So he will come back to thank me for what I said, if he see the need to do so. And then those who also police the city for us to go, maybe the economic management team, perhaps they have no solution to this. All of them must go, especially the vice president. If he has a shame, excuse me my word, he would have resigned by now, because all the things that he said has not come to pass. So for us business people, we cannot continue throwing our money away. As I sit now, our investments have gone down 40%, gone. So you ask yourself, what is happening? That is what is encouraging capital flight, if there's any. So the system as it is now is not a palatable one that we need to look at it and then smile and then driving in the V8 and all that. This is the time that government must cut down expenditure by about 40%, cut down some of the taxes, announce tax holidays, so that at least people will have confidence in keeping their money into their investments. The ordinary person, as one will say, has seen no increment in salaries. And so therefore, what are they going to use in purchasing whatever that we produce and then sell to them? They can't afford it. And therefore, we can also continually increasing, because we need to take back our investment. We can't do that. So as we consider losing part of it, government must also consider shedding part of some of the taxes so that all of us can break even. If you look at what has been introduced recently, water and electricity, if it comes to industry, 1% increment of electricity is a huge cost in the industry. So therefore, those who are giving free lunch that they are not going to pay much or they are paying so much low, if it comes to paying electricity tariffs and then industry paying the rest, it's still huge to us. It's going to escalate the cost of doing business because now you have to go back to rebase the cost of your produce and see whether you are going to break even or not. As much as you cannot do that, then you will consider whether you have to relocate your business, shut down for some time and see what will happen. And all these things come at a cost. We are in a time that we are encouraging most of these importers to go into production. There is a production base of raw materials. We can't find them in this country. So therefore, we need to import them. As we are going to do so, it's the same exchange rate that we need that to pay for those raw materials. So if you are not able to generate enough foreign exchange to deal with this, then obviously what you have to do is to shut down your plant and then wait to see what will happen. If it comes to the retail end, the shopping malls, as my brother said, and all that.
Right.
You see, the shopping malls, for instance, as we see them, these people, they've licensed to go into retailing. And if you look at the criteria of their businesses, it's quite different from the open market trading that we do.
All right, Sam.
So therefore, we can accommodate some of their businesses, but then also looking at the local production, whether we'll be able to fill the spaces with our local production.
Okay.
We are not doing enough, producing enough
Right.
to fill that gap. So therefore, there's a lot to do. And if we want this country to roll back into production unit and export drive, then of course, we need to introduce measures that will make them sustain and make profits so that they can put back those profits into their businesses. But the way this country is going now is on a free nosedive, and therefore, if we are not careful, we don't know what we are going to face.
Sam, thank you for joining us. In fact, Joe will still stay with us briefly. We'll be coming to him on some more issues GUTA is raising. But for now, we do know that the Bank of Ghana has indicated that it will soon close down some licensed forex bureaus that are not complying with the foreign exchange law. Officials of the central bank disclosed to JoyNews after embarking on some field exercises to check the state of compliance with some bureaus in the metropolis here in the national capital. Well, fortunately, I've been joined now by Dr. Joseph Franz, who's the head of financial stability at the central bank. In fact, the conversation is coming at a time where, of course, the business community is equally concerned about the Cedi. Thank you, sir, for your time. So you have disclosed that investigations are already underway to identify forex bureaus culpable of breaching the forex regulations. How close are you, first of all, to concluding this probe that you're embarking on? Kindly unmute for me, first of all, sir, and then you can make the point. Hello, sir. You just have to unmute for us. But while Dr. Franz is at that, obviously we do know that GUTA is equally asking for a number of measures to deal with all of that. Let's try one more time to see if Dr. Franz is with us. Hello, sir. Right, we'll definitely do that connection. But for you, you were hearing Sami talk about a number of issues,
yes.
And we also have the Bank of Ghana coming through.
Exactly.
So for them, you were asking, for instance, I recall, for some engagements, broader engagements to happen. How imminent would you want that?
That was one of the proposals we made to the Bank of Ghana. That as a result of the activities of this practice that we find ourselves where people are doing for how do you call it, foreign exchange bureaus and this. Now we see them by the roadsides. Who is monitoring those activities? Go to Tudu now and see them. And even those who are engaged in those activities are all foreigners. You see, so if now they've identified, but the crowd have been crying some years ago, we told them, look at the activities of these people where you go to airport, they are there. And now Bank of Ghana have identified those problems and now they are chasing them up. It's a welcome call. You see, because you go to bank to even look for foreign exchange, you might not get, but go to the roadside, you get. So what is the cause? Even you go to the banks will direct you to them.
You feel there's some black marketing?
There's a serious black market. That's what we've been complaining about. Serious black marketing. You go to the banks, your bankers, and they will even direct you to those black market people. So who gives them the foreign exchange? Where did they get it from? They get it from the country. Obviously, they got it from somewhere. So it's a cartel that the Bank of Ghana must look into it. So if now there's a wake-up call and they think that this is one of the activities that is hurting our economy, then we are grateful.
Let's see if Dr. Joseph Franz is back with us, Head of Financial Stability at the Central Bank. Thank you, sir. Earlier, we're having some challenges with your connection. I was just asking how close you were to coming to a conclusion on that investigation that you're carrying out. Well, so quite a hard day for us. But let's wrap up with you.
Yes, I think
the way forward. We also do know that the Office of the Special Prosecutor, for instance, says they will be doing some auctions at the port as well. I mean, doing some audits on the auctions. When the stamp GUTA is also throwing its weight.
Yeah, we agree to that because why is it that somebody brings a car and government is asking him to pay 10,000? He cannot afford 10. I'll be able to raise 6,000. And then you seize it and you auction it for 2,000. What sense does it make? As a punitive measures so that people don't... But nobody will want to import something to the country with the intention not to come and clear or not to pay. But something happened, couldn't afford, because it's too expensive. There was a particular car I bought, I paid so much. Even I have one at the port as I'm speaking to you now. And I've been asked to come and pay 53,000. You know? So if I'm not able to raise the 53,000, government lay hands on it and the government sell it for 20,000. So if they ask the person to pay the 53,000 and pick it up. So some of these policies must change. The duty is 53,000. Anybody will pay 53,000, pay and take it, if that's what you want. But so you give the person 53, you can't afford the 53. Then you auction it at 20, at times even 15. Then auction it to the person who brought it for that 15. They will be able to afford. Because the person was even ready to pay maybe 30. So it's a bad policy. And we'll be talking about this because it suits certain group of people. At the end of it, which people buy those seized cars? The people in authority. Yes, it's an open secret. It's an open secret that we all know.
You have evidence to back.
Where do they get the cheat from before? Before you get a cheat to get a car from the port, it comes from the office of the president. Chief of staff has to give you that cheat. Obviously, we all know this. So I think it's wickedness on the part of our economy, on the part of Ghanaians. So so we raise those all issues. So if they have identified this now, they're going to change that policy and make sure, and government loses revenue in terms of those areas. Because you've asked me to pay 53, I'm not able to pay, I'll pay 30. You say no, you seize it and you sell it out for 15 or 10. It's a wicked policy.
For some,
and so that's why we raise these issues. Yeah. We say, what is government going to do to make sure that the high exchange rate, down to 1:10, is let us know. Right. What are they going to do in terms of the monetary policy that have moved to 22? The lending rate now is almost about 35. What is government going to do? These are the things we're asking for. We want results in those areas. The VAT flat rate that has been moved to 19.5. We say government will restore that 3% back. It's for business to be cushioned. So these are the few questions we need answers. The influx of the foreigners into the retail sector where they are not supposed. We are not saying foreigners should not come and do retail, but there are certain retail that have been preserved for Ghanaians. Where we find foreigners in there, what is government going to do to halt those activities of these foreigners? Because we believe that they are the people who are putting pressure on our foreign exchange. So these are the few questions we put in place. And where we find ourselves now, we don't expect government to come with any new tax or any new increment. Right. But now what we hear is that the GRA is asking our members, those who sell the second-hand clothing, that they are going to hide their duty for them. And that is, at this position, it will be a bad move for them to do. So we're asking government all these few questions. If they come out with the solutions, we'll go along with them. But as it stands now, Monday, the strike action is going on.
Anyway, we'll be on the lookout for that. Joseph Pandi, who speaks for the Ghana Union of Traders Association. You're still with us here on The Pulse. We'll be back shortly.